host this valuable brought to you by Esoft College of Engineering in proud collaboration with the Institution of Engineering and Technology, that is IET UK. I'm Prasad Peiris, I'm the CEO of Esoft College of Engineering. At Esoft, we offer UK qualification in engineering from Pearson BTech HNDs to top-up degrees and MSc programs from Kingston University, London. This webinar is actually a part and parcel of our annual sessions where we conduct webinars with major professional bodies in engineering. So far this year, we have conducted so many sessions. We started with a session with Institution of Civil Engineers UK, that means ICE. Then again, we did another session with Institution of Mechanical Engineers, IMechE, Sri Lankan group. And we conducted a special session with Kingston University, London on renewable energy engineering, a few days back actually. Right? Today, we are honored to welcome IET UK to share their guidance to achieving globally recognized professional status with your UK engineering qualifications. I think most of our 2024-25 HND and undergraduate students now have already received your results. Some are now moving forward to your top-up and master programs, while many new students are coming to Esoft Engineering to start their engineering career, either in undergraduate level or postgraduate level. Actually, today's session, we will help you to understand how your academic path can lead to a professional recognition. And to explain that, we are joined by very special guest, that is engineer 𝗥𝘂𝗵𝗆, IT international consultant. We are welcoming him. I'll have a long profile for him. I'll be having a special welcome for him. Right? Okay, first of all, give me a quick look at how we are going to run through this program. Firstly, we will begin by introducing our guest speaker. Then we will open up the podium for him to take you through his presentation titled Road to a Charter of Professional Registration with IET. Now, during this webinar session, you are mostly welcome to post your questions in our chat box, right? And make sure when you are raising your question, attach your email address there so that we can personally reach you, right? And our resource person is ready to answer these questions individually to you all. Right? And at the final session, we will be having Q&A session. During this session, we are going to take you to a different angle by our resource person. And this is going to be a very insightful session. Okay, without further ado, let me introduce my keynote speaker today. Right. Now, today's session is very much focused to our engineering career. Basically, how one should get professional memberships and the journey toward the charterships. We are truly privileged to have engineer 𝗥𝘂𝗵𝗆 with us today. I have a brief profile, but it is an incredible profile of Mr. 𝗥𝘂𝗵𝗆. If I read out briefly, engineer 𝗥𝘂𝗵𝗆 earned his BSc Engineering honors in electrical engineering in 1998. Also, 𝗵𝗔 in 2001, both from University of Moderator, from the same faculties, more or less same departments, I would say. He also holds a MA in Financial Economics from University of Colombo and Executive MBA from Open University of Sri Lanka in collaboration with Commonwealth Learning Canada. He joined IET in early career. That means while he was at the University of Moderator undergoing his undergraduate studies. He joined IET through younger member section. Later, he held numerous leadership roles, including chairman of IET Sri Lanka network, 2017-18 up until 2019. He also served on the South Asian Communities Committee of IET until 2022. Professionally, he has led companies such as major electrical companies, Kevilton Electrical Products, Magline Switchboards, and also currently he's the CEO of Minel Lanka Private Limited. He received his Engineering Excellence Award from IESL in 2011 and is a fellow of both IET and IESL. Because you are lucky to hear from you, not only a person who is having very high recognition in local context, as well as from the UK context. Right? He's a professional registration advisor, interviewer, and fellowship assessor for IET UK. And on a personal note, I'm very proud to say it's a privilege for me to moderate this session, being a batchmate of 1992-1993 engineering batch of University of Moderator. Engineer Rukman, the floor is yours. Take us through your presentation, how we can get the memberships and go up until the charterships. Over to you.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Prasad, for the introduction, and I would like to thank Esoft College of Engineering for inviting me for this event. And basically, I think everyone can see my presentation.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Okay. This presentation is basically focusing on the academic and the career requirements to get the UK charter. Basically, this is awarded by the Engineering Council of UK, and one of the avenues of getting the UK charter is through IET, right? And this general presentation I do for most of the institutions, and it is a common presentation, even which I did 2 months back at IET Sri Lanka Network as well. So this is more or less the same thing, and but these are a common guideline derived based on my personal experience during last 10 years as an IPRA, and also the trainings which I received from IET UK on this particular subject. So it's a combination of and also a kind of a localized version of the requirement to get the UK charter, right? And in this presentation, I'll be covering the what are the registration categories of IET, and then the second point is how to start the process and who can help you in this achieving this status, and the routes for the professional registration, and that means the routes to get the charter, and then overview of chartered engineer and incorporated engineer, because there is a finer difference between these two, right? So then in the presentation I'll highlight that thing, and then what are the competencies you have as a graduate or undergraduate? What are the competencies expected by IIT UK in order to give you the chart? Actually, this is not a it's kind of a now it's kind of a global requirement, because most of the engineering institutions all over the world follow the same scenario. The competencies, what are the skills required to obtain the charter, right? And then the next point is the application content. So how to write the application and how to do it. And then the career manager is the tool which is being used to get the charter, because now we are no more working with the paper submissions. It's everything is online. So this career manager is the online portal of IET to for the application process. And then the professional review interview, because once you submit the application to IET, and then if we are through with the documentation, you will have finally you will have to face an interview. Then I'll be highlighting on how to face the interview and what some details on what it is, right? And then I'll finally I'll be touching on busting the myths, because there are some myths surrounded with the IT charter. So then I'll be covering some of the major points. Okay, first of all, to start, these are the four categories of professional registration with IET. You have the CNG qualification, that is chartered engineer, ING qualification, that is incorporated engineer. INSTEC is a technical qualification, that is especially focusing on the technicians. And then the fourth one is the ICT Tech, the technician qualification based, mainly focusing on ICT, right? So these are the four categories. And apart from that, there is another one, the fellow membership category of IET, which is not a academic based qualification. It's a kind of a more or less society recognition. And for this fellowship category, you don't need to have an engineering degree. Even without an engineering degree also, there are some specific requirements. You can get the fellowship, but it is not a technical qualification anyway, right? And this fellowship is not linked with any of these qualification, right? Even without having one of these, you can straight away apply for the fellowship as well. And also, you don't need to have a kind of electrical related or electronics or telecom, without having even and a civil engineer can take the fellowship of IET, even though he is not qualified to get the charter. Right. Then how to start the process? Basically, now first thing is actually you'll have to get the IET membership in order to apply for the charter. Assuming that you will have the membership, this is how it gets started. First, you'll have to download the application pack and the guidance loans or notes from the IET website and read them well. Because once the candidates approach me for to get the guidance from me to get the charter, what the initial step I advise them is first to download the application pack. It is available in IET website, and then read them well, because you'll have to get thorough with what is required, right? So because it is not a very complicated document, but you'll have to be thorough with what is the content of that one. Because I'll be covering most of the content in this presentation, but the detailed the content is out there. So even without that one, after following my presentation, you can go for the application. But I recommend you to read, right? And always consult an IPRA. IPRA is like International Professional Registration Advisor, one like me, because there are a couple of IPRAs in Sri Lanka. So I highly recommend, if you have any intention of getting the charter, sending the application, you first have to consult an IPRA, because it carries a weight. Because once the application is received by IET UK, the first thing they check is that whether you are advised by an IPRA, because then they know that you are guided well, right? So then my advice is first download the application pack, and then in the meantime parallelly contact an IPRA, right? So this is the first step. And then who can help you? Basically, there are multiple categories of people, professionals in the industry who can help you. First thing is professional registration advisors like me, right? So then, once when you want to get a IPRA, if you don't know anybody, so what you can do is through the IET website, you can make a request to get your link with an IPRA. So they will get, most of the time they will link with IPRS in Sri Lanka. Sometimes this can happen, because sometimes they can link you with a overseas IPRA as well, because we get requests from some other country. Because currently I have dealt with two candidates from Hong Kong, right? So it happens, because it's a global village now, because advisors are not confined to Sri Lanka. So we help the candidates in other countries as well. So in the same thing can happen, because sometimes you may be guided to consult an overseas IPRA. That does not matter, but if you can also you can request a local one as well. So it is up to you, right? And industry representative, in the industry you have colleagues who got the charter from IET, so they can help you in this regard, right? And then IT staff is actually there is a local network as well, and also IT staff means a local network plus IT UK as well. So basically you can consult them and get a guidance. And mentors, of course, this mentors are the senior members in the society, right? Because there are people who are retired but members of IET. So you can meet them probably in some events like we conduct as a Sri Lanka network. We conduct events every month, right? There's another event scheduled in next week as well. So if you want, because if you attend those events, then you can meet many of the IT senior members in Sri Lanka. So it's a kind of a not only technical seminar, it's a kind of a networking session. So then you have the opportunity to attend those events and meet people, right? And there are some support webinars as well in the IT website, right? So those are kind of uh, rotational websites. So then I have may name few. Every day there is one professional registration, and then the competency developments, and then so related to charter, and then the apprentice technician at INS Tech, and then ICT Tech focus seminars as well. So these are everyday seminars. They are actually they are recordings, so you can hear them as well. So you can get some guidelines by looking at them as well. And this is the most important slide of this presentation, because the specifically the academic requirement to get the charter. There are two avenues, right? The first avenue is called recognition, recognized qualifications, and then the second avenue is the individual assessment. First of all, I would say the second route is the applicable route for almost all the Sri Lankans, right? Tell you why. Because the recognized qualification is that fundamentally you have to have an accredited bachelor's degree from a accredited university at IET, Engineering Council of UK. In most of the degrees, state universities and private universities, sometimes some of the private universities in Sri Lanka, I think you are also following a UK affiliated degree. Maybe those universities might be accredited by IET UK. If not, that there is no issue, because then if you don't have a non-accredited degree, then you get into the individual assessment. There's no difference. These both are same, right? Only classification. Even I got I got my charter based on the individual assessment. So this is the difference. If you have a recognized qualification, let's say assume that you followed the UK degree, and this particular UK degree is accredited by UK. This is the requirement for charter. An accredited bachelor's degree with an honors in engineering plus MSc dash FL. FL means further learning. I'll explain in my next slide what is further learning. Or accredited M-Inch degree or a master's, right? So basically, the fundamental is the academic requirement for to get the charter from IET UK is you have to have a master's degree, not a bachelor's, right? First, there are some exceptions, but those will be explained in the next slide. If that is for the charter, bachelor's plus masters or further learning. Further learning means in my next slide I will explain. Or accredited MEH. For incorporated engineer status, the requirement is accredited bachelor's degree in engineering or HND or foundation degree plus further learning, right? To get the IND status, you will have to have a bachelor's degree or a diploma plus further learning, right? So this is the recognized qualification required, right? And the other avenue is the individual assessment. Let's see what it is. For charter, CINJ, non-accredited bachelor's degree with honors in engineering plus Masters of Further Learning or non-accredited MH degree. The difference is recognized qualification means you have to have accredited degree, Masters or and Bachelors, but in India individual assessment route, it is a non-accredited bachelor's degree plus master's non-accredited OMH, right? And for IENG, non-accredited bachelor's degree in engineering or HNDO foundation degree, that means diploma plus further learning, right? So this is the difference. The recognized qualification route is for accredited degrees, individual assessment route for non-accredited degrees. So almost all the state universities categorized into state universities in Sri Lanka categorized for individual assessment. None of them are accredited by IET UK, but all of them got the charter, right? So because we are very well recognized, because in UK they have a comparison mechanism. They check the UK degrees with our degrees, and then they come to a conclusion. This is the same as their ones, right? So this is how it goes. And even whether you have an accredited or non-accredited, there's no issue. You can apply and get the charter. And there's another third way of that is called any other qualification, the technical report route. Actually, this is not for the people who are doing following degrees. There are exceptional cases where there are people without qualifications, but they have built companies, right? They have built products, right? Where they are there are very rare cases, but Sri Lanka there are one or two cases where they don't have formal qualification, but they have built companies, they have built products, right? So then they can apply to in a route called a technical report route, because they have to write a big thesis like report to get the charter. But I don't recommend this one because it's a very cumbersome one. So because basically it is easier to do a degree and get the charter rather than going in this route. But there are people who got this their charter through this mechanism as well. So next slide is a bit of an interesting slide. Okay. Now I mentioned in the previous slide, right? You need to have a chart, a master's degree to get the charter. But see, this is the real scenario at IIT. Okay, 70% of successful applications via IIT do not have this academic qualification. That means all of them do. For if you are focusing on charter, they specifically all of them do not. 70% of them do not have the master's degree. But what they do is they have a bachelor's degree plus they fill the gap. They fulfill the master's requirement by their work experience. That is further learning. Further learning means they have your work experience, right? It is work-based learning, because if you can prove that you have achieved the master's level qualification by working, then you can get the degree, right? So this is what it says. And also remember, most of this 70% of the applications do not have this master's requirement. They go with bachelor's, right? So then if you have the bachelor's degree and if you have a work experience, you can apply. If you have a master's, straight away you can apply. But if you have the bachelor's, then you'll have to work and you'll have to prove that you have overcome the master's requirement as well. Right? What is further learning? Further learning can be demonstrated demonstrated in variety of ways, including additional formal study. That means if you are studying, if you are continuing with your studies like diplomas, degrees, or masters, then you can uh, show it as your further learning. And vendor training. When you are working in the industry, you get various type of trainings from within the company and also your suppliers, like multinational engineering company. You get training. Those are available, recognized at IET. In the independent studies around your area of engineering, when you are working, you do studies, right? Because you are not doing kind of a clerical work, right? You do technical studies related to your product, to your projects, you are working environment. If you are in academic, you do research, so then those are counted. On the job training, manufacturers course, right? It's the same thing on the job. When you are doing a job within the job also, you are getting trainings. That means learning, right? On the job learning. That means when you are working, you learn something. You come across new technologies, so then those are learning. And manufacturers courses, that could be sometimes your vendors or your suppliers, you give various type of technical inputs to you. And leading involvement in engineering research projects. Sometimes you conduct research when you have R&D work in your organizations, right? So these are counted. and production and publishing of engineering papers and reports. When sometimes, because I have seen many engineers in the industry, they do something in their working domains and then publish those things in various conferences. Even at IET, we have an annual technical conference where the industry people and come and present their findings, right? So those are counted. And then production and publishing of technical report internally, sometimes within the organizations also you do technical reports. Those reports can be taken as experience, can be counted as your further learning. So these are the things which you do in the industry, because these are not new things, right? So all of them counted for this further learning aspect, right? If you don't have a master's degree, you can prove the master's requirement by these type of activities. The IET recognize them. And so then let me explain because when you are applying for the charter, you have to have a clear understanding of what is an incorporated engineer, who is an incorporated engineer and who is a chartered engineer. Because every what what matters is, when you are writing your application to IET, you will have to show the this behaviors of chartered engineer, not an incorporated engineer. So before that one, you will have to know what is the difference between a chartered engineer and incorporated engineer. If you are the incorporated engineer means maintain and manage applications of current and developing technology, and may undertake research under engineering design, development, manufacture, and construction and operation. So incorporated engineer means you do what is available, right? You are using your available technology to solve problems, build products. But even though you do design, because it's in a lower scale, right? But let's say the definition of chartered engineer: develop solutions to complex engineering problems using new or existing technology and through innovation, creativity, and technical analysis. Chartered engineer means you have to have new angles of technology, right? Because you bring new thinking to the system, right? And innovation and creativity. So this is what what is expected from a chartered engineer, right? And here, further explaining the chartered engineer and incorporated engineer. Incorporated engineer means the theoretical knowledge to solve problems in established technologies using well-proven analytical techniques. That means if you are incorporated engineer, you use what is available, the new ones. Then successful application of knowledge to deliver engineering tasks or services using established technologies and methods. Get the idea, established and what is available. Contribution to financial and planning aspects of projects and tasks, and this contribution to leading, developing as the professional staff. That means contribution. That means you are a part of a team. You are not a leader, right? If you are incorporated engineer, so this is what is expected. Effective communication skills in communicating technical matters. You have to have a solid communication skills, right? This is not only by English, right? Even in Sinhala, Tamil, you will have to have proper communication. Communication means not only English. English is one angle, right? Ability to specify and operate the safe systems of work and demonstrate appropriate consideration of principles of sustainability. That means the safety of your people, safety of your plant, and then sustainability, commitment to professional engineering value. So these are the main properties of identities of an incorporated engineer. Let's say what is required by a chartered engineer. Chartered engineer means the theoretical knowledge to solve problems in new and established technologies and develop new analytical techniques. That means you bring a new perspective to the problem, like without depending on what is available, right? And successful application of knowledge to deliver innovative products and services, or taking technical responsibility for complex engineering problems. It's the same thing, but you deliver innovative things. But remember the word here, it is written responsibility. That means if you are a chartered engineer, you lead the thing. But in incorporated engineer scenario, you are contributing. That means you are a part of a team. The main difference is the between the incorporated engineer and the chartered engineer is your responsibility, right? Your leadership. Get the third one, responsibility for financial plan and planning aspects of projects, sub-projects or tasks, right? Because you are a leader, you plan, right? You can be a company, department or a sub-business division, but you are a leader. Fourth one is leadership and development of the professional staff through management, mentoring and coaching. That you lead your people, you mentor them, you train them, right? And the final three is the same as incorporated in the effective interpersonal skills and communication techniques, understanding of safety, and then commitment to professional engineering values. The third identities of chartered engineers almost similar to incorporated engineer, but the first four differs you, right? Because if you are an incorporated engineer, you are a part of a team, but if you are a chartered engineer, you are leading your team. Because I am mentioning this one because it is very critical when you are writing your application. You will have to highlight that you are a leader. What happens is there are sometimes I have come across there are people with academic qualification fail to get the charter because of their writing way of writing, because they have the academic qualification, but they are what they have written in their content is mainly focusing on incorporated engineer aspect, right? So they were recommended to reapply, or they were recommended to get the incorporated engineer status, but they had the uh, academic qualifications for chartership. So I'm explaining this in order to get you understand what is the difference between these two. Right. Now, in IET, we talk about 5 to 6 competencies required by IET UK in order to get the charter. What is a competency? Competency is a mix of knowledge, your skill, and your professional attitude and your understanding on the engineering principles and what you do, right? The combination of these four is called a competency. These are the 5 competencies required by IET UK. It is not IET UK. Everywhere in the world, this is the fundamental criteria of giving your charter, right? Even in Sri Lanka, IESL follow the same. We called ABCDE. Competency A is knowledge and understanding. That is what you learn at the university, right? Part B is application to practice. That means what you learn something at the university and then you apply those things in the industry. So then how do you apply them? And the competency C is leadership, management, and supervision. Leadership means there are leadership, management, and supervision, and also financial aspect as well. So this is the third requirement. The fourth requirement is interpersonal skills. Interpersonal skills means your how to deal with other people, how do you deal with your people above you, and then how do you deal with people below you, right? And then commitment to professional status, because as we are engineers we can't do what we want, because we will have to we work as per the guidelines. There are local standards, have international standards, so we'll have to adhere to those standards. And also there are sustainability requirements and then environmental conditions, considerations of everything we'll have to balance, right? These are the 5 competencies required to get the chart. Make sure when you are in the industry and at the university, make sure that you develop these 5 skills. Otherwise, you will be having a problem when you are getting further qualification, right? And also and in the next slide, I'll show you now how these 5 competencies interact with each other, right? This is the way. This competencies C, D, E, and E basically built on the foundation of A and B, right? That means you'll have to be thorough with A and B. That means you have to have a very solid technical understanding, and also a very solid application of it, right? So we'll have to be very thorough, because fundamentally what we say at IET is engineering charter is for the engineers who manage, not for the managers who manage, right? So that means you'll have to have a very solid technical background in order to get the charter. And above this technical skill A and B, you'll have to build the others: communicate, the leadership, commercial communication, and the professional commitment. So then you make sure that I have met many candidates who are very thorough with CDE, but they don't have a solid A and B, right? Because there are engineers who work for banks, for example, right? Their A and B is very weak because they are doing bank, right? So they can't. But if you have now, let's say if you have worked in the Indian engineering industry, and then you have moved to a non-engineering background, if you have worked previously in engineering, yes, you can. But there are instances where people just after graduation, you leave engineering and do something else, and they can't get the charter. So this is what this means, right? Throughout your career, you have to have a solid A and B. That means technical understanding and technical application. Make sure that you have it if you need the charter. Right. So this slide, of course, I'm not going to explain very well, but very well in the sense, because uh, this is the same thing which I explained. The competencies. How do you assess your competencies? In a future slide, I'll explain this thing in a very light manner. Right. Now, let's say in this, I have mentioned you for five competencies, but under these five competencies, there are 17 subcategories. So you'll have to make sure that you meet all these 17 subcategories. These are not very complex rocket sciences. This is what you do on daily basis when you are in the industry. What matters is you'll have to identify those things, and then you'll have to write your application based on that. Right now, A means that your the academic qualification. A1 is maintain and extend sound theoretical approach, right? And A2 is engaging creative and innovative development, right? At the end of the presentation, I'll give you a kind of a controversial statement on this one, because innovative means you don't have to develop new thing or invent new things. But thing is, what matters is you do new things, right? But make sure that A1 is you'll have to have a very sound theoretical understanding, and then based on that, you'll have to do creative things, right? And then the competition B is putting your theoretical knowledge into practice. It can be in the industry, it can be in academia, wherever you work, right? Application, the identified potential projects or opportunities, because every day as an engineer you face problem, right? So you'll have to identify the problem, and then go identify a project or a product development or opportunity, right? And then what you do is you conduct appropriate research and undertake design and development. You do research about the problem or a challenge you face, and then you do design a solution, and you develop it, and then you implement it, right? And the B3 is implement your design solution and evaluate their effectiveness, right? So then you face a problem, and you study about the problem, and you design a solution, and then you evaluate and implement it, and evaluate the results of that. So this is the typical cycle for an engineer. So you'll have to make sure that you are complying with B1, B2, and B3. And then C1 is the under competence C, uh, your technical and commercial leadership. Plan now for effective project implementation. You plan not only project, anything, right? When you're working as an engineer, you plan, right? And plan, budget, organize and direct control tasks and people and resources. Because once you plan, you have to have a budget, and you'll have to organize them, and then need to have people, and then resources, everything you need to execute your task. And lead teams and develop staff, because you have a team below you. You'll have to lead them, and also apart from that, you'll have to train them, right? When you have a very well-trained staff under you, your life is easy, right? So you'll have to make sure that you do everything and bring about continuous improvement. You continuously improve what you do on a daily basis, right? So these are the things. These are not new things. Once you get to a job, you do these things natural, right? And then under competency D, this is on communication, interpersonal communication in English with all others at all levels. That means all levels. This is a UK-based presentation. It is not only English, Sinhala, Tamil, whatever the language you use, you'll have to be thorough with it. You'll have to communicate well with your superiors, right? They should understand what you are telling, and then you should communicate very well with your subordinates as well. They should understand what you are telling. And this is what the communication means. Then present and discuss proposals. And you'll have to discuss proposals. You do it when you are doing a job, right? And demonstrate personal and social skills. You are not only, you are a part of the society, not only the company, right? So then you'll have to demonstrate professionalism when you are behaving within internally and also in the society as well. So this is what it means. And let's go to the companies like E1, we have E1 to E5. Comply with relevant codes of conduct. Right? If I'm an electrical engineer, I follow BS standards, local standards, and IEC standards, right, and IEEE standards. So when you're working, you have to work with whatever standards, and also safety standards as well. And manage and apply safe working systems, E2, right? Then you'll have to be very thorough with the safety, right? As an engineer, number one, one of the number one, not the very critical and number one aspect is safety, right? You have to make sure safety of the people, safety of the properties, the safety of the surrounding, environment, everything. And then E3 is undertake engineering activities for sustainable development because we are part of the society, we are part of the environment. You'll have to make sure that we preserve the environment for the future. And career continuing professional development, CPD, right? You have to have a CPD plan because you in your career you'll have to grow continuously till you get retired, right? So this is what we mean. You have to have a plan and a responsibility in an ethical manner. You have the ethical behavior is required from an engineer because anti-corruption laws and anti-dumping laws and then environmental protection, no pollution at all. So those are the aspects required by an engineer. So I have mentioned there are some 17 competencies you will have to follow. You will have to comply with all 17 competencies in order to get the charter. This is not a new thing. We all follow when you are doing jobs, right? You can easily find them when you are working, right? So there's no, this is not a very complicated rocket science to in order to get charter because these are very simple things which you do on daily basis, right? So, right. Okay. Problem solving uh, cycle. We call it problem solving loop, right? This is very much useful when you are writing an application. This is the day-to-day life of an engineer. Like you identify a problem, and then you explore the information and create ideas and select the best idea out of that, and then you design, build, and test the idea and then implement it and then evaluate the result, right? This is the problem solving loop. This is required when you are writing the application because in your application you will have to write uh, a story, right? Because nobody is looking at your daily job description, right? Select couple of projects what you have done and then you'll have to write the application based on this mechanism. We call it let's go to the next slide, I'll tell you. And also the same mechanism is called star, think star. S means situation, what was happening and what was happening that you needed your expertise. Task. T, what were you required to achieve? What is your objective? Action means what did you really do, and results means that how the final evaluation view after implementation, right? This is the same thing in the as mentioned in the previous slide. Now the above two slides which I explained will be helpful to you when you are writing the application. Develop your application in a way that allows you to convey a story of how you made an engineering difference, right? You'll have to write a story in your application, in the application format, that how do you solve day-to-day problems in your respective organization, right? Even at the interview, and I'll be covering the interview later, your presentation also should cover the same thing. You'll have to tell stories, not the point form or very technical, serious technical jargon. You'll have to show that you have the covered entire life cycle of engineering. And then third one is show that you have covered all the 70 subcompetencies which I explained previously, right? You'll have to cover everything. Ensure your presentation is focusing on A and B. In your interview, you'll have to do a presentation of 20 minutes, and there you'll have to cover mostly the technical content of that. That means competencies A and B, right? Right. Then how do you write the applications? At IET, the assessors are looking for one of your best projects and your involvement in those projects, and also what are the values or the complexities of those projects and the strategic importance of those projects, right? Best projects mean you, when you are writing your application, you select one or two projects what you have done in your career, and then you write down a story based on the previous uh, method, which is star approach, right? And in your application, what you have to write is what you did, not your team did. The terms you will have to say, I designed, right? I developed, right? Not your team developed, not we developed, right? I developed. And then you'll have to mention the values and the how critical the project is, like that. And you are responsive, and then how do you responsibility means, then how do you, what is your responsibility of that project, then commercial responsibility, budget responsibility, people's responsibility, like that. And also reflective means finally what did you achieve, right? Now how do you find evidence for when you are writing the application? First of all, whether you are graduates or undergraduates, or if you are doing masters, make sure that you maintain a diary. Right? This is the advice I generally give to all the candidates, because with the time sometimes you forget everything, right? You forget the finer things, right? When you are writing the application, then you are clueless. My advice is keep a diary, at least write it once a month or once in 2 weeks, like. And also you keep the important aspects of your career in a database, your projects, what you did, the plans, right? The diagrams, accountability diagrams, technical diagrams, right? Proposal reviews, letters, reports, like what you did, right? And the maps, the presentations, what you have done. So you keep it in a folder, like, then you can recall them when you are writing the application, right? And the designs you have done, right? Then the employee assessment, testament you have received, the awards you have received, right? So those things matter. They may internal memos, mails, right? Those things you keep a record during your career. Then when you are writing your application as evidence, you can recall them very well. And also if there's evidence needed, then you can present them to idea as well, right? This is very critical, even not even in charter, but when you are applying for different jobs, like a very responsible job, you may you find useful uh, by having them. Right, this is how you write your application, because I have explained that always mention what you have done, right? Not your team did. Or we all look at what you have done. This is the same thing. Well, put the words like I was involved, but don't put those like words. I was involved, right? Word should be I did it. I contributed. Contribution means you are incorporated in here. This is how the application becomes weak, right? So make sure that always that you have to write in active voice, not on passive. Right, when you know your applications, right, when you're submitting your application, that you'll have to have two supporters to support your application. That make sure you have to have there is a case to mention that whether you have consulted an IPRA. Make sure that you have consult an IPR and make sure that you mention his details in your application. There is a case to mention those things, and the application should be supported by two supporters, and keep in mind that those supporters should not be IET members or people who are having charter. Even if you have your boss is not an engineer, but not, even he can sign, because what we require is that a person known to mean that the person who's signing as the supporter should know your career very well, right? So anybody can sign if it is better than if he is a chartered engineer or IET member. If not, even don't worry, right? Because most of the candidates come and ask me, oh, my boss is not a chartered engineer. Is it okay? Right? I said, okay, right? No issue. So anybody can sign, right? Your bosses can sign whether irrespective of his qualification. So this is this is one of the areas most of the candidates come to me and ask, right? So there's no hard and fast rule on that, right? Right. This is the career manager, the portal, right? This is part of the IT website. So you have to use the career manager to fill the application, and you don't have to fill it at once. Little by little, you can fill and finally submit, right? So I don't want to explain those things because since if you go to the IT website, you can find it. It's very straightforward and very well explained, right? But make sure that you have an online submission. And this is how the application assessment happens. Once you submit the application, the IT staff check the applications, your competencies, whether you have all the competencies and your qualification is being checked. And if you have recognized qualification, that means accredited degree. Uh, they check your academic qualification and also their competencies. If they are satisfied with, they check whether they are satisfied with your performance, right? If you don't have a accredited degree, then it goes to individual assessment, and then even the same procedure, they check your competencies applicability, and also they check whether your degrees are compatible with the degrees in UK, and if so, you are through the interview, right? And this is the basic details of the presentation. For ING and CNG both, you need to face an interview. It's a 45 to 60-minute interview with a 15-minute presentation. And this is entirely based on your application. They are not going to check your technical knowledge, but you will have to be thorough. You will have to be very thorough with what you have written in your application, right? They question technical things based on your application, whether they verify whether you know what you have done very well, right? And conducted by two interviewers. And also what they are looking at is they check the gaps in your application. Like if they feel that okay, I have mentioned 17 competencies, and if they feel that couple of competencies are lacking, so they verify those things in your interview, right? So it's not a technical interview where they take your technical capabilities. They don't ask for your undergraduate technical things, no, but entirely based on your application, right? So you have to be thorough with what you write. Before the president interview, what you have to read your application well, and then prepare a 15-minute presentation, only maximum of the 7 slides, right? And then you'll have to face the interview. Okay, final slide. There are many myths around IIT charter. So, a couple of I'll highlight the most of the things, right? Very important things which will be helpful to you. First thing is age matters. There's no age barrier. If you are very young in sense, if you have 4 to 5 years experience, but whether if you have demonstrated the 17 competences, even you can apply. Even later carry in the area, if you are 70s or 60s, yes, you can apply. And second myth is non-accredited qualifications are not good as accredited when it comes to establishing underpinning knowledge and understanding. The non-accredited qualifications are same as accredited qualification. It's a difference only by a word, right? So they verify, and I have seen almost all the candidates which I have supported got the charter, irrespective of the degree they have. But fundamentally, they have to have a master's or they'll have to have a bachelor's first, plus further learning. So that has to be there, but there was no discrimination between the degrees, right? If the application hadn't had experience in the area of at least 5 years, no longer relevant, right? It's not the case. Even experience before 5 years you can use, right? Applicant needs to demonstrate current competence at point of registration. No, because the registration, of course, not at the point of application. Even previous application, that means your skills before 10 years ago, even that can be applied, right? The final one, chartered engineers need to demonstrate creativity and innovation, because in the previous slide I mentioned yes, but it is not the case, right? There are jobs where you can't demonstrate creativity and innovation, because sometimes if you are somebody is working for a power plant, you can't do much more creativity than them, because you'll have to run the plant, right? So then it is not the essence of what is required, but we'll have to show that you are doing even minor improvements in your domain, right? It is not like you invent something to get the charter, right? So then it is a kind of a myth. And you must manage people. You must be a line manager to become INJOC. No, line manager, because there are sometimes I have seen engineers who are working to US companies and working from home from Sri Lanka, right? So then you don't have people to manage, right? So it is not the case. But what matters is if you have the skill, and if you are demonstrating the skills. Sometimes you manage people remotely, right? So you don't have to be a line manager, right? Because now the work environments are different, right? You must manage a budget to become an CH. There are some jobs because there's no requirement to manage a job, right? Manage a budget, right? Like if you're in the academia, sometimes you don't have a budget responsibility, right? But we have the options of getting the charter. So there are instances like that. You should talk exclusively about day job. No, I'm my first advice was don't write your daily job description in your application. You'll have to write stories on the projects based which you have done, right? And the questions on ethics and sustainability don't really count. Those things counts, right? Sustainability or ethical behavior really counts in engineering charter. Not even UK and Sri Lanka is the same. All over the world, it's the same. You don't need help with your application. You need help, because otherwise I have seen applicants directly applying without any consultation got failed, right? Because you need advice. If you are applying to CNG and already IN, if you are applying for a CNG and already IN registered, your application should focus only on the time since gaining IN registration. IN and CNG does not have any relevance. If you have IN, that does not mean that you can get the charter after a couple of years. Not the case, right? These are two different qualifications based on your academic qualifications and your career path, right? So then, if you are applying for CING while having ING, you can get the ING, which you can use the experience which you used to get the ING as well, right? So then there's no hard and fast rule, because they are two detached qualifications. Right, okay. These are the points I need to discuss with you all regarding the IET charter. And I would like to uh, answer your questions as well. I think you might have different questions on different domains. So basically, thank you, and then I'm ready for any question, Prasad.
Okay. Thank you very much, Engineer 𝗥𝘂𝗵𝗵, for this insightful, inspiring session. Actually, initially, I planned to have a kind of a few question and answers on membership process, uh, because students might have different concerns, right? But after going through this comprehensive presentation, what I felt was that all our doubts and all the students' doubts seems addressed in this comprehensive presentation. And especially when I was going through these busting myths, right? And I mean, it triggers the concerns and it answered that particular concern that, I mean, this is perfectly, I mean, it's how should I say, it's a holistic presentation, right? Uh, Many thanks, Engineer Rukma. However, I thought of using this time, the allocated time, some useful aspect. Uh, anyway, whoever wants to refer this presentation back, we will be hosting the entire video on our YouTube channel and Facebook, so that you can refer it later. You can rewind and see particular focus areas. Yet we are sharing our email address and Engineer Rukman's email address. You can directly liaise with us for your questions. We can help you anytime. Right? Uh, I thought of I mean, have some short discussions on some hot topics, which are really in minds of our engineering students, right? I think you're okay with that, Engineer Rukman.
Yeah, I'm okay with anything.
Okay, okay. Uh, my first question is, I thought of bringing up, now it's AI is a big buzzwords around, right? In this current era, that everyone says the AI, this machine learning, then the autonomous vehicles, and so many content, so many technologies bundled with AI, right? And but with this development, we have seen in the industries there are growing concerns, right? There can be loss of jobs, especially in the tech field, right? IT and engineering and whatever, right? But I believe that this same question is in the minds of our engineering students who are doing electrical, electronics, mechanical, mechatronics, and building services, which we offer, right? How do you see this, and how do you present the impact of this new AI trend into this traditional field we are offering? Over to you.
Yeah, so this like this, like I have this because there are. It is not only forum this question is asked because this is a very valid question and then it's there are growing concerns on this. Actually, my answer is this. Let's say I'll start from different point. Generally, the economic directions of the world is mainly governed by some of the we can track those governance by the directions by some of the comments made in the World Economic Forums in Davos, Switzerland, because the WEF, the World Economic Forum, generally publish documents based on the what is going to happen in the future, right? So then every year they publish a report on the employment, the global employment as well. The global employment report on 2025, what they highlight is like because what matters is there is a AI disruption at this moment. But what matters is they have identified what are the growing areas in the growing directions of the technology. One of the AI, but with that AI, there are certain jobs will get lost, but not the engineering jobs because there are some clerical jobs, the mass market jobs get lost, right? But thing is, what matters is because some of the things, even as engineers, we do will be taken over by the machines. But what matters is the human skills. The human skills cannot be copied by the robots or AI, right? So then basically, as I have mentioned in the presentation, the competencies A, B, C, D, and E. C, D, E cannot be copied by machines, right? So what you have to learn is basic technologies you will have to learn, and also But apart from that, the human angle always went. So there will, because there won't be any job losses, because if you take the entire history from 1900 to today, these were happening when, even when somebody is inventing the bicycle, it was the same thing, because I have seen, I was referring one video day before yesterday, the whatever the comments made when the bicycle was invented, when the TV was invented, right? When the mobile phone was invented, nothing happened, right? Jobs were lost and jobs were created. Because in your master's programs, I think the reskilling happens, right? So, because in your programs, especially my relevant field is renewable energy, you are teaching the latest trends in the renewables, right? So then when the students are learning those things, let something goes to the past. But then when you are studying the latest technologies in your programs, then you don't have any issue. But make sure, what you have to make sure is that you have these all the competencies in one basket. You have to have those, right? If you are thorough with only A and B, then you fail, because
Mhm.
there are certain skills which cannot be copied by machine learning or
Mhm.
prompt engineering or robotics, right? So, what my advice is, there are technological disruptions in the world, but generally people adapt, and the courses what you offer, Prasad, contains everything. So then if they learn and if they follow and do, and if after graduation if they do CPDs,
Mhm.
continuous professional development, you are there, because you don't have to worry about this technology disruptions, because throughout the history, if you take, nothing has happened, because with the technological disruptions, you can, because I have checked, not in Sri Lanka, I have checked the unemployment rate of US from 1900 to today. The unemployment rate is same. But if you take the disruption, then it should not be the case, right? In
Mhm.
technical disruption, nothing has happened. Jobs were lost and jobs were created. The
Mhm.
students who are following your courses are getting the latest technology, and they can do wonders. They can do anything in the industry, right? So then there's no issue with that. But make sure that you learn and you are with the latest technologies. That's all.
Thank you so much, and it's a very, very thoughtful response. Actually, I mean, indeed, I very much like how you mapped that thing into your presentation, A, B, and C, I mean, skill ladder, right? That's fantastic, right? And also, it's a kind of a relief. It's a relief for our students who are worried about losing their job. And also, I like your compliment also, right? We do have AI modules in our programs, like in mechanical mechatronics, we have machine learning, and also we do have AI application in building services management and facilities management. Uh, like you said, in renewable energy, we do cover holistic effort aspect of renewable. It would be fuel cell, wind power, solar PV. But one thing I want to add is in here we talk only solar. But this particular module we cover the thermal side of it, right? Because if somebody wants to go to Europe and the other part of the world that is predominantly use aspect of these renewable, right? Thank you for your compliment. And my second question is, okay, this is combined, cascaded with the question one. How do you see that you said that students need to be, or the engineers need to be upscaled, right? What sort of upskill required based on the industry? How the industry is going to expand. Say, for example, electrical, electronics, mechanical, mechatronics, or building services. What sort of direction you see?
Yeah, direction in the sense, right. Let's say by renewable energy directions are basically not the energy, not the renewable energy. The direction in the energy sector, especially focusing on electricity, it is on renewable, right? So because the Of course, the wind, solar is already there, right? So then new technologies like hydrogen fuel cells. So these are the new directions in the power generation sector, and also in the general power distribution and the transmission sector, it is smart grid, right? So because it's a kind of a data driven society now, right? So that you have the different dynamics in the bill. Let's say, for example, yesterday in Sri Lanka, the Sri Lanka Parliament approved the Electricity Reforms Act, right? So then the CB will be unbundled to 14 different companies, and then transmission will be different, and then the distribution will be different, and we will, after 2 years time, we'll have a kind of a dynamic market, because in the Singapore, in Sri Lanka, Singapore, you have a dynamic market, right? Because you are free to buy from multiple vendors electricity, not anything else. So basically, these industries are becoming more data driven rather than very conventional industries. So then power, actually these everything would be based on data, the IoT and everything, right? Because before data, you will have to have IoT, because you need data from generated from IET, IoT. To deal with AI, because then it comes AI, right? Machine learning, right? You'll have IoT, and then you have to have data, and then you have to have data analytics, right? So then these are the directions of as far as the power sector is concerned. If you take the manufacturing, it is automation, right? Like fundamental like mechatronics, right? And then electronics and telecom, you have different avenues like AI, the prompt engineering, the most of things on AI driven and the data driven platforms, right? So those are the areas where the world is moving. And even in mechanical engineering, it's more or less like automation like things, right? And also energy sector, not only electricity, the other petroleum and everything, you have the new technologies in new drilling, new resources, and so on and so forth. So and apart from that, fundamentally everything's coming basically on the like data driven platforms, right? So those are the areas, the basic areas what I see in the near future.
Super. Thanks. Thanks. Okay. As a winding up, I thought of putting everything together, and there's a capstone question, right?
Yeah, Prasad, there are three questions from the students as well.
Yeah. Uh, hold on, I cannot see that. After going through these, my final one, shall we address those?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. What I want to have a kind of a capstone question. I'm combining between what anyhow the students who undergo engineering program, they want to have employment, right? They want to become an employable engineer, right? And not only Sri Lankan context, international, they want to be an employable engineer, right? And combining this, and also the combining what IET can support in this journey, right? What student can do and what IET can do. How do you present it?
Yeah, so actually now, first of all, before answering the let me add something to the previous comment I explained. Now there is a now, because most of the even in media, like if you take even in the channels like Bloomberg or CNBC, all are talking about the IET AI scenario, right? AI boom. But I think there is a hidden area in engineering which I see, right? Most of the students are not guided well, not only locally, even internationally, the same thing. There is a huge shortage of hardcore engineering in the world, right? Because what I see it in the electrical engineering studies, right? Because there are very much shortage in renewable energy designers, right? Because as a company, we do some designs for some Australian companies because they approach to us because there is a shortage, right? Huge shortage on renewable energy design, huge shortage on high voltage engineering, huge shortage on distribution, right? Because there are in UK, there's a huge shortage of cable engineers who can do cable jointing, high voltage cable joints, right? I think it's less than 10 engineers in UK. This is the level. These things are not highlighted very well. My advice to first of all the engineers, learn the hard skills, right? Don't always go for the software, the IT related or AI related jobs, right? I understand there is a trend, but but there is a huge opportunities are coming in hardcore engineering, because they don't see the opportunity, but we see the opportunity, right? So first of all, you learn your hard skills as well, and your design skills, especially learning of softwares for in design, right? Because even in Sri Lanka, we very hard to find engineers who can do a comprehensive solar design from A to Z, right? Using the available softwares, right? So those softwares will not be very thorough, because they are the pirate versions are not pirate. I can not pirate, but the basic versions are available on net. But even sometimes the organization might have even pirate versions. You can download and work and get familiar, right? If you are following these, especially I was told that you have a renewable energy course, right? Huge opportunities are there. Especially Middle East, the Middle East is developing. Those are the places you have the opportunities, right? Not in Europe, right? Europe, they don't do anything in terms of infrastructure development. Even infrastructure development happens in the Middle East and Asia. There you have the opportunity, right? So then learn the hard skills, and you learn the soft skills, especially software related skills. So that is my number one advice. And number two is how IET can help, because IET, of course, it's in local context, it's a network, very strong network where you can get knowledge, and apart from that, you can network with people as well, right? So then that is number one. And number two, IET, of course, especially the IET charter, very well recognized global qualification. If you have the IET, I'm not encouraging you to migrate, but in terms of migration trends, if you have the UK charter, very easily you can get the Australian charter or New Zealand charter, right? Straight application. But if you have the local charter, so IESL given by IESL, you can't have that facility, because you will have to have a professional engineering status in Sri Lanka in order to get the charter in UK or UK, New Zealand or Australia or Canada, right? If you have the IET charter, it is very easy passport, right? That is one of the reasons people apply for IET charter, right? So then those are the benefits you can get. Apart from that, IET is having different services, but thing is, compared to IEEE, they are less, right? If you need the technical knowledge, I advise you to go to IEEE, not IET. IEEE is the place where the technology happens. But IET qualifications are very well recognized all over the world. If you have anything, because it's a global passport, right? That's what it means.
Yeah, actually, I have a one testament which proves your comment. That is, I think a year before, 2024, one of our students who got the civil engineering chartership through ICE, he was able to get membership at the Australian Engineering Association, right? Without any hassle, right? And because there are lots of students who wants to migrate, want to do complete our program, we assure, like Engineer Rupal said, okay, this is much more recognized than other qualification or recognition avenues. I mean, it's over to you to take the challenge, take the opportunity, because you studying this qualification in Sri Lanka, UK qualification at a fraction of money, right? Fraction of sterling you spend here.
Yeah.
But if you happen to study the same program in UK, you have to pay about 10,000 to 15,000 pounds per year, per academic year. Then you have that benefit, you have the exposure here, and now you can become an employable engineer, right? Okay, there are a few questions. I think most of these questions being answered during your presentation. I briefly take one by one. Hi, Engineer Rukmal. I am currently an undergraduate student. When applying for IET qualification in the future, Will my undergraduate project and open source contribution be taken into account?
Yeah,
Definitely, no?
undergraduate project, of course, it's like this. Now, one thing I couldn't mention in my presentation. I know that you are doing projects in the university and also after outside university as well. I recommend you to present it in international or local conferences, right? Because then you can use it as a fact in your application, right? Undergraduate project merely will not help you, because anyway, what matters is after what you do after the graduation. But there is one example I can give. There was an undergraduate, not a graduate, from Ceylon Institute Board approached me uh, for charter, and what he has done was he has done a project related to, I think, nuclear energy as an undergraduate project, but he has presented that thing after graduation in one of the international conferences. He took that project as one of the examples in his application, and he got the charter. So in that way, you can do it, right? Because always I encourage students to uh, present papers in international conferences. Now trend is there, because last week I had some sessions with Jarodhanpur University engineering faculty, and they have done presented their final year projects in overseas conferences. I always encourage, and also I ask the Esoft to support them as well, to present their papers in international conferences. That adds value, right? As a person, and also it will be helpful when you are acquiring the qualification like the chart, right? So yes, of course you can use it, provided that you present it somewhere. So that is my answer.
Yes. Thanks. The next question is, does the IET provide support for attending international conferences or competitions?
Yeah, they support, but not locally. But there are opportunities in IT website. You can check that one, because it is very competitive, I would say, because all over the world, it's the whole world is applying. But there are opportunities. If you refer the IT website, sometimes you might, there are, not always, but there are. That, of course, you'll have to check the IT website as well. But as I can remember, there were.
Then final question from them. If I follow MSc in renewable energy from Esoft, is it helpful to get chartership from IET through
Uh,
academic path?
the academic path, I'm not sure whether what does academic or accredited path. I think not academic path. I think accredited. Of course, now Prasad, what is the university it is offered?
Kingston University, London.
Yeah, okay. My basic answer is I'm not sure whether these Kingston University degree programs are accredited by UK, by IET UK, but my answer is yes. If you have a master's from a UK university, of course, yes, you can apply.
Thank you. Thank you. I think thank you so much for your comprehensive answer. That concludes our Q&A session. And also, this is going to conclude our session. Before winding up, let me thank you, everyone. On behalf of Esoft College of Engineering, I thank everyone who joined here, and especially Engineer 𝗥𝘂𝗵𝗆 for this insightful, informative session, and also engaging session, right? I wouldn't say informative and comprehensive, but it was engaging. Then I remember you were involving our students in our sessions continuously. If your memories goes back to 2019, you delivered the very, very impactful keynote speech at Esoft graduation. Right? Thank you again for that. And thanks for taking your time and attending these sessions and encouraging our students for this thing. And last year you came for our induction. This year too, we expect your presence there, right? Okay. And also we thank our organizing committee who put their immense support behind this event and who did artwork and configuring systems, everything, communicating with students, all these things. Finally, the participants, right? Now, as our whole effort is to tell you not to stop at attaining your degree or master here. Right? We want you to become a professionally recognized engineer and climb up to your chartership, which is the echelon of your engineering career. Right? And I'm happy to say, I mean, just today, one of our mechanical students got his IMechE memberships, right? And apparently it was his birthday. It was double celebration for him. Right? Okay, here's another good news for you guys. From this September, we have 6 new MSc programs up in the line. MSc in Mechatronic Systems, MSc in Renewable Energy Engineering, then MSc in Building Services Engineering, MSc in Facilities Management, MSc in Structural Design and Construction Management, and Management in Construction. Then we want you all to follow these master programs. Also, we have 5 top-up programs in our line offered by Kingston University London, starting with electrical and electronics, electronics and communication engineering, and mechanical engineering, and civil and quantity surveying. Those are our undergraduate program. We want you to take your pathway and attain your global recognitions. Once again, thank you, everyone. Have a great evening and go get your professional status with your IET. Good evening.
Thank you.